Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Do 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 do. Crime time.
With my bestie.
I'm Jess Fantastic, and this is Anna Riches, and we are Crime Time with my bestie. Hi, bestie.
Hi, bestie. Did you forget again?
No, I didn't. Forget what?
There was a pause, and I thought you'd forgotten that you were the one doing the introduction.
It's because we started recording. We were talking about something else, so I needed to like psych myself up, and I have this pressure now from your friend. I don't know if it was Hoop or whatever that said that it always sounds the same. So I have to hit that note mark of like the do 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 do. So I've got to build the energy like with it. More energy, more passion, more footwork, more footwork. But yeah, I feel like we need that kind of vibe for today's recording because we're stressed, double stressed, or I feel like you're stressed, and I will say I'm so sorry.
I am so stressed. For listeners, this is happening in the past. Hopefully, I am very happy by the time this has been released. But I'm moving, and packing up my stuff is horrendous, as well as trying to work out what you still need out for the rest of the week and general life stuff like work and feeding yourself. That's difficult. But my flat currently looks like a hoarder's house with just stuff everywhere.
You do have to get used to basically the fuck it box at the end of the move. I unfortunately have moved more times than a normal human being should in the time period that I have moved, and you just end up with like one giant box where you just shove everything at the end, like your kettle and your plate and cup and stuff that you've left out, and it's not fun. Moving sucks.
Moving does suck. I do expect that I'll have a fuck it box. I'm trying to be organised at the moment, but I know that there's going to be a fuck it box. I mean, half of them are a bit fuck it anyway. But the problem is just that I live in a 1-bedroom flat. So once they're packed, there's nowhere for them to go. And there's nowhere for the furniture to go. But now the furniture's empty and everything's on the floor. And where do you put that? I have nowhere because the floor is covered with what was inside the furniture.
You're basically making a fortress within your flat of boxes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You can play a really, really weird game of hide and seek or Battleship. You could play a good game of like indoor Battleship in your flat right now.
I really could.
Well, I'm sorry about your stresses. I have found some good news. I have good news. I'm hoping you have some good news, but I have my good news, and I have found some world good news that hopefully will be some consolation prize for the stresses. My good news for the week is I kind of have two, but I don't want to ruin it because I could save maybe I should save one because normally we would do a double recording. We're putting our recordings up today because we need the time to
because I can't get my act together because everything is everywhere and I haven't organised it very well.
So maybe I'll save my other one for later in the week. I'll probably forget it by then. But my good news for the week is it was my birthday. Technically our birthdays.
Yeah. We both had a birthday within days of each other.
But my good news was I won a PC from my work.
Nice.
And through their they have like a freebie, so if our tech becomes outdated, they take what they need out of it and then they kind of recycle it. But they recycle it through the staff, which is quite nice.
That's
so
good.
I won a PC, and I have had a PC in my living room that I use for gaming with like myself and Sam, my husband, and we kind of do more like co-op games on the sofa together, and it's quite fun. But the PC I was using, I got when I was back in uni, and it was very, very old and didn't really run very well, and so we could only really play like really easy, like sort of cartoony kind of games that weren't graphics heavy. And the new PC was working, and so I was like, I want to try it. And I've been wanting to play a game called Split Fiction for...
Oh yeah, that's meant to be really good. Me and Katie want to play it at some point.
Yep, I loved It Takes Two, and this is the second game from the same studio, and we played it all weekend pretty much. I think we're on like 11 hours of play. So because I think we only played it over like 2 days, so it was like 6-hour stints. It was pretty 5.5-hour stints, and it was very fun. It's a very good game, and I'm really pleased that the PC is able to run it because I had planned for my birthday to buy like a Nintendo Switch, even though Split Fiction isn't on a Switch. It's because I wanted something to be able to game myself, and now I'm like, you know what? I don't need to, which is also like a bonus because it means the money I had set aside in my brain for my Switch is now I've got it's girl math. I've got free money. I've got free money. So yeah, that's my good news.
Send that on now.
Sadly, I definitely need to buy new roller derby wrist guards, and that's just going to have to happen because mine have fallen apart. So less fun, but I appreciate it because it's my hobby and I like it.
You like that. Well, that's good.
It was good fun.
Can you play games on your own on it as well?
Oh yeah.
I just have to buy
them. Yeah, it's not like the best PC in the world, obviously, because it's like outdated for my work, but not like the highest spec that you could imagine. So it runs it well enough. Every now and again, it has a little bit of a lag where it's like, oh, this level's obviously quite heavy.
Yeah.
And then it's fine. But to be fair, I don't really game by myself anymore. I mostly just play games with Sam. So
fair. I mean, up until a few months ago, the only gaming system I had was a PS2, and the laptop that I have is my MacBook from uni. So there is nothing about my life that's particularly like high tech or the latest of anything.
To be fair, PS2 and those sort of original even PS1 games, they're still top tier. That was one of the things I was thinking about when I was playing Split Fiction, that it's almost a little bit too easy. We would die in a boss level and it would respawn us at a point where the health was still the same. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if this was a PS1 game, you would have either respawned back to the beginning of the boss and you'd have to start all again.
Yep.
Or you would die completely, and that would be the end of the game.
You'd have to start the game again.
All over again. Obviously, I know that like levels now are like games are much longer, but like I'm pretty sure Spyro the Dragon, like you had 3 lives, and that was it.
Yeah, Spyro's one, and then I think it takes you back. I do think it keeps you in the same world, but I think it takes you back. I don't know, because for Spyro on the PS2 that we have, I have a PS1 memory card on it, but I don't have a PS2 memory card, which means that I could never save Spyro because I didn't have anything to save it on. So I've just played the first world again and again and again and again.
That's what I
don't know what up until I got the PS4, I didn't know what the other worlds were. I think I got onto the second world once.
Yeah, to be fair, I did that as a kid as well. I played it on PS1. I never had a memory card. And then there was points where if I could start playing on like a Friday night after school, and then I would let my PlayStation run all weekend, and then by Sunday night, as far as I got, and then I just had to turn it off. And that was as far, and then I'd start again the following weekend. See, this is what I mean.
Right from the beginning.
Kids these days, and I feel like I'm really old saying it, but they don't know how lucky they are.
They don't, because it just respawns them, they saves. You don't have to worry, even if you do save, you don't have to worry that you're saving over someone else's game.
No.
Because I still have not forgiven Katie knows this, I have not forgiven her for when she saved over my Pokemon game on the Game Boy.
That's the worst as well, because Pokemon is so long, and it takes and like building your Pokemon up with their stats, and that would just crush my soul.
I'd got so far with it, like I was like probably 80-85% of the way through the game, maybe even further. And she said, could she play on it? And I was like, yeah, but as long as you don't save. And she saved, and I've never got that far again.
Oh,
well,
devastating. Do you have good news?
I do. It's kind of podcast good news. I have finally connected our Facebook page.
Oh yeah.
So for ages we had a Facebook page. It was there, but I couldn't connect it to our Instagram so that it posts automatically when we post on Instagram. And we didn't really want to post on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook every single time because it's kind of long, and obviously we do this part-time and we're always busy. But I have got it connected, it is posting, we're getting likes on it, and I just think that that's great because I trial a lot of social media people on Facebook. Like, so they'll come up on my Facebook, I'll see their videos for a bit, and then if I've seen their videos a few times and then I'm like, oh, actually I do like them, then I'll start following them on Instagram. So that's my trial place. So I'm really glad that we're now on Facebook.
Oh, well, I'm super proud of you. You did tell me, I did know this, but I didn't assume that you would use it as your good news, which is very sweet. It was kind of out of the blue. You just did it, and I was like, "Hey!" Was it one of those tasks though where you really should have been doing something else? And
I should have been sleeping. It was 1 a.m.
You're like, I'm going to procrastinate and feel really productive rather than actually like doing the thing that you need to do. But I appreciate 1 a.m. Anna getting our Facebook working. So well
I was
done.
like, I'll just check again. Tried it, and then I was like, I fucking did it!
Yes!
So yeah, we are
Nice.
on all of the social media platforms now.
Don't say that, because I'm sure there'll be another one that will appear at some point and we won't be on it, but we're on the main ones, in theory.
We're on the ones that we use.
Yeah. I don't think it's technically social media, though, like Snapchat. I don't get it. And please don't, no one needs to tell me what it is, because I will never use it. But there's this whole other world within Snapchat, from what I can tell, and I'm just like, I'm okay.
I thought Snapchat was only something we used when we were at uni, and that was kind of it.
They have stories now as well, though. Like, you can have Snapchat stories and like follow people. And I'm like, no, this is too much.
It's too many social medias.
Yeah, it's like when our parents were sitting there going, MySpace, what's MySpace? And we were like, ugh, it's the best thing in the world.
If you don't get it.
I if you don't like want to be on my For You page or whatever it was called. What was it, top 5 or top 10?
Top 8.
Or something? Top 8. Oh. God, everyone's gonna think everyone's gonna think we're really old.
Everyone's our age.
If there's 20-year-olds in the chat, what are you doing here? No, seriously, stay. We love you. But it's just such a different generation. I don't know how to cope.
We're so old.
I know. But we're really not. This is the thing. We're old for us. But this is what probably happened when our parents were our age. They're like, ugh, young people.
Also, tell my knees and my back that I'm not old.
I just played squash. My knees are so sore. Like, honestly. I'm like, running.
Gross.
So I'll do my good news of the day from around the world. So this is from a website called Only Good News Daily, which you'd hope that they would only give you some good news. And the two things I'm going to call out, just because I like this sort of stuff, is that apparently Africa has had a remarkable year for solar growth in 2025, with installations.
I think I saw
that. Installations increasing by 54%. So I like these sort of things because it means that we are obviously going away from fossil fuels and supporting our planet. So yay. And then
not killing it.
Yeah, but then combined with that, so it says, one second. Yeah, so then the other thing that goes with that is that China had an economic growth with green tech. So China's clean energy sector drove more than a third of its economic growth and was responsible for 90% of increase in investment and brought in over $2 trillion. So things like electric cars and things like that. So it's good. Now it is the 8th largest economy because of it. So good for China's growth. Great. Yeah. And also green tech. We should all be doing green tech.
Yeah, I suppose it's always money. I was going to say, I don't understand why more things are not green and better for the environment. But as I was saying it, I answered my own question. It's money. It's always money.
It's money. It's always money. If we could get all of our energy for free, then you would think that would be a really good thing. But it's the same as, like, I'm pretty sure they've scaled back on the UK, had a big push for, like, renewable energy. And they were putting, like, they were giving you, like, green grants so you could put solar panels on your house. And then they realised that they weren't getting any money back because their logic was, if we give you solar panels, then you'll put energy back into the grid and therefore it will help because we use more energy than we actually generate. Yeah. And then they're like, we're making no money off this, so we'll stop doing that. And it's really sad because I feel like
very sad.
We should be putting solar panels everywhere.
We should put it anywhere it's possible.
Yeah. I like wind turbines. People are like, they're ugly. I think they're kind of cool.
I think they're cool, and I think the benefits of them outweigh they're ugly. Mm. Like, it's better for the world.
Save our planet. Sorry, do good things.
Like, my brain shut down halfway through that.
Where do I live? Is this Earth? So this is our 20th episode.
Yeah.
We're still in double digits. We have been for a while, but we're now in the 20s, which is...
In the 20s.
Both exciting and terrifying.
Proper adults in the podcasting world.
Would you like to get into today's case?
I would, but should we just tell the listeners we're doing, I think we said it last episode, but we're doing a bit of a special case this episode and next episode.
So there is a link. Between the two cases. We do know what each other's cases are because we have predetermined it. So our teasers, when we decided, Anna was already aware of what we were doing. The teasers were more for
you guys.
Yeah, suspense. Even though I feel like, I don't know, I have a whole thing at the beginning of my research which is about me saying that my teasers were a bit shit. So at least I admit it this time. But yeah.
But we like doing teasers just to give you a bit of, like, intrigue to the next episode. I hope you guys like them too. I quite like looking them up and trying to work them out. But yeah, our goal with this podcast was always to get to 21 episodes, because I'd read a fact somewhere that I think only 1% of podcasts get to their 21st episode. And so I was like, Jess, we have to make it to 21. So as a celebration and because the way we record it, we each do an episode. So the only way to make this fair was to do our 20th and 21st episode as a special one. Yeah. So that's why we're doing something. They're both very famous cases. You'll get it very soon.
Yeah, you'll get it very quickly. The link, I suppose, is
a secret.
It's a secret link, but it's not. Yeah, there's reasons behind it, and hopefully all will become clear as we go through the cases. But I won't be giving too much away about Anna's case. I will be telling you about mine. So yeah, so the teasers from that I gave you last episode was Glasgow Smile, Hemicorporectomy, and California. I'd love to know if anybody got it, because as I said, I was being a bit of a dick because I wanted to make it awkward because of the fact that it's such a famous case.
And because you're you.
And because of me, because what's the fun in it if it's just like, oh yeah, it's, murder. Sorry.
I'm just imagining we do one lot of teasers that's just like murder, and murder.
Do we normally do triggers first or sources? I can't remember.
Maybe sources, I think.
Sources, okay. So sources for this are Wikipedia, theatlantic.com, fbi.gov, novelsuspects.com, ebesco.com, people.com, Reddit, which... and the LA Times. There is one more source, but I will give it to you further along in the case when I
just put it in the show notes. It's in the show notes. It's not a comprehensive list when we say them out loud, but the show notes is always a comprehensive list.
Yes. And triggers are strong references to surgical procedures, bodily harm, rape, mutilation, torture, and stalking.
Cool.
Which it's pretty heavy for a me case. Pretty heavy.
Sorry, it was making me laugh all through that. So I'm like, how many episodes have we done? Neither of us know whether it's sources first or triggers first. But like
20, it's episode 20. Know. Does it really matter? No. If anyone's still listening at this point, we're 23 minutes in and it's all chaos.
We make the rules. We do what we want. It's our podcast, but also please listen, listeners.
So as I said, I deliberately picked difficult teasers because it's a famous case and I wanted to be vague. So I thought I would lead into the case by explaining my two teasers because I didn't know what they meant, but I saw them on the Wikipedia page and I was like, yes, that's it. It's a weird word that unless you know this case and you know what the word means, you wouldn't know. So firstly is hemicorporectomy, which is where the body below the waist is amputated, transecting the lumbar spine. This removes the legs, the genitalia, internal and external, urinary tract system, pelvic bones, anus and rectum. So you're basically kind of splitting the person in half.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't know that that's what it meant.
And then the second teaser is Glasgow Smile, which is where the corners of the mouth are cut to the ears. So kind of very like Joker-esque Batman kind of cut into the face.
I think I asked you that when you said the teasers last. I don't think we recorded it, but when you told me what the teasers were going to be, I think I asked that question. And makes perfect sense knowing what the case is.
Yeah, now that you know. So if none of that made it clear at all, then we are, of course, covering the murder
Drum roll.
Oh, no, how's that going to come out on a microphone?
I don't know.
We are talking about the murder of Elizabeth Shaw, more commonly known as the Black Dahlia. Ta-da!
I am shocked.
Shocketh. It's kind of weird as well because it feels like it's one of our first big cases that we've covered. I know we've done like some quite famous people in general, but like in true crime, people tend to hit some big ones that always come up. And the Black Dahlia feels like one. John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah,
Lacey Peterson.
We have done famous cases, but we have done famous cases that are not so well documented or they're not as famous to us. Like, we might not have heard of them. Like, I know Pedro Lopez, when I was Googling for my case, Pedro Lopez came up as like one of the serial killers with the most murders. And I was like, you'd have thought I'd have known about him before now.
Yeah. I think I said it before in a previous episode that I listen to a lot of true crime. I do. I listen to at least 4 or 5 other podcasts, and I feel like I've not heard these in those podcasts. So there's a part of me it's like, hair swish, kind
Oh
of
my
like,
gosh, you
woo,
are
I'm like,
so original.
There's another part of me that thinks maybe I have, and I've just forgotten.
Yeah, there is a possibility of that. But yeah, I think we hit cases that, whilst are relatively famous, that are maybe not the first ones you go for when you start doing a podcast. It's not your Ted Bundy, it's not always on Netflix.
I just had a realization though that maybe that people do that deliberately, and like we've just kind of gone straight into the formula of what podcasters do, being like, we're original, we don't do the big cases, and then we'll get to like the 80th episode and we'll be like, oh shit, we've run out of the really weird cases, we're gonna have to do a big one, and that's kind of what happens. But if not, then we're just original and amazing, obviously.
We'll see if our listens shoot up after this episode. And if so, and if this is the first time you're listening, maybe we only do really famous cases.
Not there's anything wrong with either approach, but yeah. And to be fair, like I was quite surprised when doing the research for this that a lot of I suppose because it's been so long, so this was kind of 1940s when the actual murder. I mean, it's hard because there's no spoiling it. If you're within the true crime space and you haven't heard the Black Dahlia, sorry, somebody gets murdered.
What? On a true crime podcast?
And it's also so heavily covered in media. There's a lot of books about it, there's films about it, there's TV shows about it. So like when I'm researching it now, the research that I was more often finding was people talking about the books that are coming out about it rather than the actual case itself. So
that's a bit difficult.
So then it was actually talking more about what they've unearthed in their research rather than the actual case itself. So
so maybe
hopefully I've done it justice.
I was going to say maybe we've made it easier for ourselves by doing the odd cases first, so we can really get into the normal, I say normal in inverted commas, like researching.
But let's get into it. So a little bit of backstory. Elizabeth Short, who our case is about, was born in Boston, Massachusetts on July 29th, 1924. In an attempt to track down her father, she ended up in California and lived with him for a short while. She was described as dreamy, elusive, independent, and canny. She was also said to...
I quite like that.
I know,
I don't mind being called... I wouldn't mind being called those things.
No, she had some good... Nothing said, like...
She lit up a room.
Yeah, there's no lighting up a room. There was no beautiful, all these things. But yeah, I liked it. She was also said to have been an aspiring actor, but does not have any acting credits to her name and was working as a waitress at the time of her death. On January 9th, 1947, when Short was 22, she told a gentleman friend to drop her off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where her sister was supposedly waiting. On January 15th, 6 days later, a woman walking on Norton Avenue in southwest Los Angeles found the nude body of Elizabeth Short lying in a vacant lot. Short's body had been drained of blood, severed into 2 pieces, and placed in a sexually suggestive position. Due to her being drained of blood, her skin was described as pallid white. The woman that found her stated that she originally assumed that she was looking at a mannequin.
Oh, it's always the mannequin. Always the mannequin. But that is a quite creepy way of describing a body. Yeah. Sorry, I might have spaced out. Where she was found, was that near the hotel she was going to?
I don't know. It doesn't say. Do we want to Google it? 1 second. Unless the name of the street has changed.
I was also wondering, and you probably don't know, did her sister come to California to look for their dad as well?
No, apparently she was just visiting.
Oh, okay.
So I think her family were living, I have a vague feeling it was Florida. They believed that her dad was dead, and then they found out that he wasn't. And
okay.
So then she went on a search to find him. It doesn't sound like it ended very well. I think they'd sort of like reconciled for a bit, and then something went wrong, and she was then not looking like she'd lived with him for a bit, and then she wasn't. So where? Okay, I can't Google where it is because for some reason opening Google Maps to see where North Avenue was in Los Angeles caused my Google to like have a fit, and now everything's really laggy on my machine. So I'm just gonna give it a minute to sort itself out.
Okay.
North Avenue could be close to the body. We'll never know because apparently Google doesn't like me.
Sorry for asking the awkward question.
Medical examiners determined that she had been dead for around 10 hours prior to the discovery. Her autopsy showed...
But it was 6 days after she went missing.
Yes.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, so there is more. It will explain it. I don't want to jump to my own notes because I've done that before and then messed up how I've explained it. Her autopsy showed that her cause of death was from blows to the head and face. She had been tortured due to ligature marks on her ankles, wrists, and neck, and she had superficial lacerations across her body. It was also suspected that she had been raped. The various mutilations, which included cuts across her face, which is the Glasgow Smile, had likely happened after her death, and the bisection or surgical procedure known as hemicorporectomy had also been done after her death by someone with a medical knowledge and skill.
Okay.
So police noted that there was no blood at the crime scene, making it clear that she had been killed elsewhere and then placed at the scene. So she's been tortured and held from the ligatures, explaining why there's like such a gap between her missing. Yeah, so the 6 days where she's obviously been kept by somebody, and then obviously all this has happened, and then I guess whoever had been keeping her committed the act of killing her and then did all the extra stuff and then dumped her body in a different location.
Yeah, and to drain her body of blood, there would be then loads of blood if that was the place that they'd done it. And
Yeah,
also,
for sure.
I feel like that, I don't know, not a murderer, but I feel like that would take quite a bit of time.
Yeah. So 10 hours prior, though, if you think about it that way, that's still, like, if they're doing the bisection and everything after her death, 10 hours doesn't feel like a long time to get all that done, to drain somebody of body. I don't want to Google how long does it take to drain somebody of blood.
The same thing. I was thinking, oh, should we get... No, let's not Google it.
Let's not Google how long it takes to drain somebody's body of blood, or how long it takes someone to bisect them. But I suppose maybe that's why they assumed surgical skill, but also probably because it was probably maybe not neat, but like to know how to do that.
Yeah, I feel like it must be neat for want of a better word. Because if someone was just, and this is very graphic, so sorry if you guys don't like this, but if someone was just to saw someone in half, I feel like that would be quite rugged and quite...
Yeah.
bleh.
From what they explained, hemicorporectomy is like you've sort of like cut in a way and then removed individual organs to create like this bisection or cut, like cross section in between the body and different, like sort of upper body and like lower body. Yeah. Whereas, like you say, if you was to saw somebody in half, you would saw through those organs, and therefore you would.
And also, all of the edges would be like quite rough, and it wouldn't be like a clean cut.
So the case quickly became notorious and earned the moniker for Elizabeth Shaw of the Black Dahlia. Most sources seem to put this towards her penchant for black dresses or possibly her black hair, and at the time there was a movie showing in theatres nearby, including a theatre near to where her body was found, that was the Blue Dahlia. So...
okay.
Yeah. There is also some suggestion and build-up around the image of Shaw at the time, where it was very like film noir, because it was like so mysterious and kind of, you know, everything around it.
That feels really icky though. And I suppose I get it, because she was an actress, and then I don't know what the film The Blue Dahlia was about, whether that was, maybe it's like a combination of the connections, but it feels really icky.
She also was a pretty woman, and she did have some male companions, so I think people just sort of like jumped at the chance to sort of paint this picture of,
especially during that time.
Yeah, as they described it, was a woman living on the edge, creating an impression of a woman that lives by night and is always seducing men. I do think I have something a little bit later, but she sort of made the decision after the war to not go back to the gender norm typical, because this is like 1947, the war was just finished, and she stayed a lot more like free and wanted to do her own thing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
her. Love a free woman. Yeah.
At the time, people were going to jump into assumptions, and unfortunately, the way in which her death came about painted a very unfortunate picture. So the source that I didn't mention earlier, but I do want to say what it is, was floristreview.com. Again, this is a unusual tidbit because I didn't know this and I thought it was quite interesting, is that the name Black Dahlia actually came from this case. And there is no flower called the Black Dahlia. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's a flower. I don't think I knew that it was a flower.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Yeah, a dahlia is a type of flower. So I always kind of thought, like, I know they've said, oh, it was about Blue Dahlia, the film, but I just kind of thought, oh, that's just kind of ironic that, this Blue Dahlia film is showing and they've like got a flower called a dahlia. But yeah, there is no Black Dahlia. It was completely from this case. What does it say?
And now
Sorry.
it's so famous with this case.
Because there's no actual flower called Black Dahlia, it's more commonly used as a nickname for varieties such as Arabian Night, Black Beauty, Karma Chop, and Chat Noir, which all display as a deep burgundy or maroon petals so dark they appear black in certain light. Growers later borrowed the name for their darkest dahlia cultivars seen in the flower's association with the drama, mystery, and noir of the case. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that, like, I kind of always had this impression that there was a flower called the Black Dahlia, and therefore it was like, oh, she's this, like, beautiful flower, and the case was so dark, and no, the case actually determined the name, and it just stuck.
So now that when they use it now for these various other plants that are so dark, that's because of the case.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
So Short's case was a challenge to investigators. With her desire to become an actor, she was rarely employed and moved frequently. It was said that Short had also dated widely and had known at least 50 men at the time of the death.
Oh God, no.
Wow. I know, yeah, we have to bear in mind that it's 1947, it's post-war, the general sentiment at the time. Yeah.
I know, but even still, if you're an actor, you're in contact with so many people all of the time. I mean, like, I worked in film for so long, 8-9 years. The amount of people I must have been in contact with would be in the thousands.
Like, and this doesn't say dated 50 men. It says
just in contact, or
just in contact. It's like, you can't have friends.
But even it doesn't even say that they're friends. It could just be that she knew them, that she did a job with them. You could be on a job and have 50, 100, 500 extras on that job, and you'd be in contact with them.
Yeah, and as I said, the general sentiment at the time was that men wanted women to return to their more traditional roles from before the war. So they'd been helping out throughout the war, so they were perfectly happy for women to come and, like, do all the jobs. Because obviously men went to war, so therefore all the jobs the men were doing, the women had to cover back home. So they were like, oh, cool, take all of the jobs whilst we're not here. And then when they came back, they're like, oh no, go back and be a housewife or whatever.
Yeah, do what you were doing before, and no, that's my job.
Yeah.
I just did a massive eye roll at that, because it's not the world that I live in or like.
I know that we're obviously in a very tumultuous world as it is, but there is a part of me that is still glad that we live in this decade, because if I still had this mentality of myself now, I don't think I would have been. I probably would have been alone. I would have been that woman. Nobody would have wanted to be around me, because I would have been like the out there and not, she's weird and different, and you don't associate with her because she's.
Oh, we think about that about you now.
Thanks. Rude. Short also branched out from she branched out from those typical roles, and she lived her best life, which sadly was cut short. So detective.
And she was 20. Was she still 22?
22. Yeah. Detectives never learned where Short had been during the week before her body was found. So your question of those 6 days, what had happened after she'd been, like, dropped off at the Biltmore Hotel, they never unearthed any information about where she'd been, what she'd been doing, if she was picked up directly from the Biltmore Hotel and therefore was being held for 6 days, or whether she'd been somewhere else. They couldn't find anything. The investigators were able to identify Short, and the thing is as well, they also didn't know who she was, so that's a point to make. So when they obviously found her body, they didn't know it was Short.
How long did it take to work it out?
I will tell you now.
Oh,
or will I?
Sorry, is that a question that is in your research?
To be fair, to be completely honest, I don't have the time frame, so I do apologise. I thought I did. I can tell you how they found out it was her, but I can't tell you how long it took them to find out. So I don't know. I was so cocksure of myself there. I was like, I already know. I definitely don't. So my bad. The investigators were able to identify Short, though, from her fingerprints, because she appeared twice in the FBI records. So go Short. Once from
For
her.
what? Oh, sorry.
I
You
know.
were just about to tell me.
Have that one. I do have that one. That one they would give me. Once from her applying to be a clerk at the commissary of the Army's Camp Cook in California. So applying for a job, which I guess because it was for the Army, she had to provide fingerprints for. Yeah. And then in January 1943, that was in January 1943 that she applied for the job. But then 7 months later, she was arrested for underage drinking.
Whee!
So they took her fingerprints again. So she would have been 1943, this 1947. So she would have been like 18 at the time.
Hey! I mean,
so, yeah.
To us that's not that scandalous because we're in the UK and the drinking age is 18 in the UK and people drink from like 14.
Yeah. Definitely didn't get super wasted at a party when I was 14 and
absolutely not.
Toilet. Absolutely not.
No.
Headbutted
absolutely not. Mum, if you're listening, I did not touch a drop of alcohol until I was of age.
No, my mum knows. She was there for one of them.
I was going to say, your mum, it was your family parties is one of the places I drank.
My parents are brilliant parents, but they definitely unleash the reins probably earlier than needed to happen.
I mean, you're from an Irish family. Drinking is in your blood.
Yeah, alcohol is everywhere all of the time. Because they had so little information, police put out a bulletin for information on Shaw, not knowing a great deal about her and having no leads. I suppose we could do the maths here. So on January 21st, so when did... Now you've maybe question.
Sorry.
It's fine. So on January 9th is when they found her. No, on January 15th, is when they found her. And on January 21st is when this next thing happened. So there was
6 days.
6 days. So it's pretty good going of how long it sort of took them to figure out who she was.
That's quite quick.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And then, to be fair, that doesn't necessarily mean that they found out exactly 5 days. It could have been a little bit earlier. On January 21st, a person claiming to be Short's killer placed a phone call to the office of James Richardson, the editor of The Examiner, and stated they would shortly receive souvenirs of Short in the mail, which is disgusting to say souvenirs of somebody that's just died.
They knew that it was Short by that point?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Just because we were working it out, but obviously the killer's calling, but did the killer say Shaw, Elizabeth Shaw, or did they just say, I killed this person? I mean,
they would know because the belongings specifically call out who she is.
Oh, okay.
True to this so that was on January 21st, and then true to this on January 24th, a suspicious envelope addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers. Inside the envelope, it contained a note saying, "Here is Dahlia's belongings." So at this point, she's also been in the news as the Black Dahlia. So that's how quickly the case has kind of progressed in its sort of infamy.
And also figured out who she is. That's so gross to describe it like that. As in for the murderer to be like, this is the Black Dahlia's belongings. That just...
Yeah. And in it was Short's birth certificate.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Alright, that one really links
She knows who she is, sadly. Yeah. Business cards, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and an address book, as well as words individually cut from newspaper clippings. It wouldn't tell me what those specific things were, so I can't tell you what those words were, what the individual letters were, or who the names or anything that was about. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that wasn't going to be my question. My question was going to be, is this stuff that she would have on her? Or...
I don't know. I don't know many people that carry around their birth certificate, but also
it's a different age.
Yeah, I was going to say, was ID, having a form of identification, your birth certificate at the time? Do you know what I mean? We walk around with an ID card, or I think the US is the same with your social security card. Is that a thing back then? If not, then is it a birth certificate, and therefore you have to have it on you? Because
basically I'm wondering, is it stuff that she would have in a handbag? And he just took her and her handbag at the same time, kept the handbag as trophies and everything in it as a trophy, which is, like we've always said, grim. Or did he go to where she was living?
There was... I don't actually know whether I've included it in the research just because it didn't add much to it, but there was also a point where they say it's the same person, but they also had somebody hint towards someone leaving her handbag and one of her shoes, because I don't know whether... I feel like I said it, but Short was found nude So she had nothing on her, no belongings or anything. So whoever, I do think they would have taken her handbag, which possibly could have contained these things.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think she would have had a handbag and they would have taken it. I'm just wondering, did they also go to wherever she was living to get these other things, or is this stuff that she had on her?
We will never know, I guess.
Because
they don't say.
It just gets so much creepier if she was at her house.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Like if the person had gone there, I get you completely. So the envelope in question, they were able to lift some fingerprints from the envelope, hoping to obviously find out if they could get a lead. They did lift some fingerprints, which were sent to the FBI for testing. However, the fingerprints were compromised in transit and therefore could not be analysed, which I think is just an absolute shit show that they were so close to getting somewhere with it, and then something fucked up and they didn't have any evidence then.
It's bad that, like, I mean, I don't know how difficult it is to get fingerprints. It's bad not to have, like, copies somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, nowadays you probably would, because you probably scan it in or something, but, like, it's like, oh, you were so close.
Yeah, that's it, because obviously now everything's digital, so once you've sort of scanned the fingerprint, in theory, I would assume it would upload to some form of database like you had with your Robert Black case.
Yeah.
But back then, everything would have been a physical copy, unless you made another set of like hard copy fingerprints. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, and yeah, as I'm forgetting whether I've said stuff, but I feel like it was in my research. Her body was cleaned as well, so like there was no evidence on her for them to use. So this could have been, if in theory the person that actually provided the stuff, which you'd assume it was the killer, considering they had all of these things of hers.
Yeah, but weirder things have happened.
True, very true. So, due to her injuries being described as likely surgical, the police served a warrant to USC Medical School, which was located very close to where Short's body was found. But after several interviews and background checks, they were still no closer to solving the case, so they didn't find anybody from their checks with the USC Medical School. Police considered various suspects during their investigation, one being Mark Hansen. Anne Toff's, Short's friend and roommate, told investigators that Short had recently rejected sexual advances from Hansen and suggested it had been a potential motive for him to kill her. So, just to clarify, because it sounds a bit confusing, so Anne Toff is Short's roommate, who was like, hey, you should check out this Mark Hansen guy, because she rejected him and maybe he's salty about it.
And he was someone that was medical?
No, this was just a suspect that they just sort of pulled, same as you would with most murder cases. Check the people that know you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
He was cleared, so not Mark Hansen. Robert Manley also was considered, who had been one of the last people to see Short alive, but was also cleared after passing multiple polygraph examinations. I have a feeling that Manley might have been the person that had dropped her at the Biltmore Hotel, but I could be wrong on that one.
I guess that would make sense as the last person to properly see her.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that passing multiple polygraphs wouldn't prove that you're innocent, but also we know polygraphs are not accurate.
Yeah.
Police also used her address book to interview multiple people, including Martin Lewis, who was an acquaintance of Short's, but was found to have an alibi on the day of her death. So I don't have anything as to why they specifically called out Martin Lewis, but he was just in the address book and they're like, we'll try this person. Okay. I'm sure they did lots more, but those were the three that were specifically called out in the research of people that they sort of were like, could it be you?
Yeah.
There were a total of 750 investigators who worked on the Short case during its initial stages, including 400 sheriff's deputies and 250 California State Patrol officers.
Damn, that's so many people. I mean, that's great.
So many.
But that's so many people.
It's only going to get better, but it's not, because various locations were searched for potential evidence, including storm drains, abandoned buildings, various rivers throughout Los Angeles. In 1914, wait.
What are they looking for in the storm drains?
I think just anything. I think any form of evidence.
Okay. I just feel like, I mean, I don't know how to police, but that feels like you're looking for something very specific that would have been thrown away. I guess maybe her clothes or something.
I feel like should have done better research, Jess. If I'm remembering it rightly, it was they had suspicions of the sort of location where she would have been, where the bisection would have happened, and they thought it would be like an abandoned building or something like that. So maybe it was kind of like a hope that they might stumble across, like you said, evidence of like her clothes that had been abandoned, or maybe blood, or possibly the location where she had been murdered, basically.
The only reason I'm like, this is weird, is just because if a body, it's the storm drains, but also if a body hadn't been found, these are places that I would maybe think to look for a body, but not necessarily just evidence.
I'm going to Google something because I feel like I've done bad research, but
Oh no, we're going to have to do episode 20 all over again. You're going to edit this episode down and it's going to be like 10 minutes of actual case because we've just spent the rest of the time Googling.
Okay, sorry. What I was basically trying to figure out was whether, because obviously she was bisected, so she was in 2 parts. I was like, did they find all of the parts? And do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So in my head, I was like, maybe they were searching storm drains and things like that because they were looking for the other parts of her body. But according to the autopsy, everything was there. So even though she was cut in half, both pieces were like whole together, in theory, which is quite terrifying when you really think about it, but we're just going to carry on and not think too hard. It's like when you get, and this is going to sound really bad considering that it's could be, I don't know, I can delete if it sounds insensitive, but do you ever sometimes get the chicken ick?
Yeah.
Where you're like eating chicken and then you weirdly start thinking like, oh my god, this is chicken.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like eating chicken on the bone. Like sometimes I get that with true crime or doctors' TV shows, and then sometimes it feels too real and I'm like, no, I need to like have a break away from this.
Yeah, you can't think about it too hard, otherwise it really cements what it is, because we're very desensitized to this because we listen to it a lot, we consume that kind of media quite a bit. But yeah, no, I completely get what you mean, where you're just like, whoa, this is real. And that's not to be insensitive, it's just, I get the same when I'm driving in a car. I'm like, whoa, I'm going 70 miles an hour, this is wild.
I do have it sometimes as well, and I've heard that not everybody thinks like this, so judge me if you want, but if you're driving a car, sometimes I get the moment of like, what would just happen if I just like drove into the central reservation?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And also when you're like, literally all the time, I use... It's sometimes when there's a car next to you as well. Yeah, exactly the same. And I also get it when you are walking past some kind of body of water or a bridge or something, and you have your phone in your hand. My brain goes, throw your phone over. Just throw it. Just throw it into the river.
Mine's like, what if you just fell into that right now? And again, I feel like I've said this to somebody else and they've gone, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, do you not think these thoughts? And they're like, no, what's wrong with me? I'm just like, yeah. I could just drive into the central reservation right now. Do you think I'd live? Do you think I'd spin out? And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Is wrong.
I know, all the time. I'm exactly the same as you. Our brains are weird. I think it depends on how, quote unquote, normal you are to whether you have these types of thoughts. We are not normal.
So yeah, that hopefully it doesn't come across as insensitive, but I feel like when I read true crime and I listen to true crime or watch true crime, I very much disconnect from that logical part of my brain that knows this is real. And when I start to remember that it's real, I then get really like anxious and be like, oh god, this
you kind
of
go back into your body and you're like, shit, this has happened, this is happening, this will continue to happen, and then you're like, fuck.
Yeah. So as said, various locations were searched for potential evidence, including storm drains, abandoned buildings, and various rivers throughout Los Angeles. In 1949, due to the fact that there had been, and so this is 2 years after the murder had happened, they were no closer.
I really try and pay attention to all the dates and things, but sometimes I'm looking at you nodding and I'm like, what did she just say? So I do appreciate when you clarify like that.
That's okay. 2 years later, I think I've technically done a little bit of a jump forward here because we are going to go back a bit more to, or am I? Oh no, I'm not. Oh, we're near the end. Good lord. So in 1949, due to the fact that basically they hit a dead end, they had nothing, a grand jury tried to state that the police had incorrectly handled the case, therefore affecting their ability to solve it. So they brought this against the police to be like, you didn't find out who the murderer was. The grand jury noted that 192 suspects had been investigated and dismissed. There was 750 investigators, 400 sheriffs, 250 state patrols, and 192 people investigated, and they had nothing.
The thing is, it's hard to kind of say either way because I don't really know too much about how they were investigating, so I can't say, oh no, it sounds like they did a good job, or no, it sounds like they did a crap job, because I don't really know what they tried or how they tried to investigate. Whereas, like, some of our other cases, we know that they investigate the actual murderer and then dismiss them, and that's why we're always like, this was shit. But on this, I don't know, and I can't tell. And also, the age that this was happening, is it just easy to miss? I don't know.
It really didn't give, and it could just be maybe the sources that I used, but it really didn't give a whole lot of insight into specifically what the police did. From the sounds of it, they looked into a lot of people, they had a lot of people on the case, but it just went cold.
And also, you don't know if it was an Israel Keys type thing where he killed someone and then immediately went into a different state. And we know in police forces don't talk to different states' police forces, so...
And I think the trouble with it was that there was no evidence, even though they obviously found her body, and they like, all they basically had to go off was people that she had interacted with 6 days prior or even earlier than that. And most of the people had, from what the police believed to be, could be ruled out. So they did, in theory, as much as investigating you can do without evidence.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're probably their strongest lead was obviously the medical school, and according to them, they ruled everybody out there.
And also, if her body was wiped of evidence as well.
Yeah. With gasoline. I don't think I mentioned that earlier.
Oh, no,
there was like a theory that she was cleaned with gasoline, because the envelope was cleaned with gasoline. So I don't know if that was like a...
But he just didn't clean it very well because they still managed to get fingerprints. Damn! Gasoline is insane. No, I didn't know that. You didn't say that.
No, so I didn't say that earlier. I think I didn't include it in the notes because I didn't feel like it was relevant, and I was like, you know what? This is interesting. Here you go.
I feel like that's given... It's given a real visceral reaction.
Is it like 1947's equivalent of bleach? Not that people... Was there bleach? I don't know, because I'm going to Google it. I know I shouldn't be Googling this many things. When was bleach invented? Okay, no. Bleach was invented in 1785. Well, never mind.
Gasoline, I don't know. I think it's just because it's not what you would normally hear of to clean a body unless they were, like, about to start a fire.
Yeah.
It's the only time you hear about it in crimes.
Maybe they were going to set her on fire and then change their mind. I don't know.
Or got interrupted.
Maybe. And then just had to leave the body.
Maybe.
But yeah. Wild. So Elizabeth Short's case was heavily in the news and appeared as front page news for 35 days following her death, which I thought was like... I feel like 35 days is quite a long time.
Yeah. I guess it could be longer, but it's nothing to be sniffed at.
But to this day, her death remains a mystery and has been, as I said earlier, the subject of multiple books, films, and conspiracy theories. So I do have... That is kind of like the bulk of the research that I have on the case itself. But one such theory includes a recent book by William J. Mann and an investigator, Alex Faber, who believe that they have found the true killer of Elizabeth Short. So they've used a combination of AI and investigations of multiple crimes. They believe they've cracked the case and put forward a suspect of Marvin Margolis. Margolis supposedly was part of the list of suspects from the USC medical schools. I think earlier I made the exclamation of "however," and then we changed the subject.
However, shut up.
Shut up.
I'm going to talk about it later.
So Margolis supposedly was part of a list of suspects from USC Medical School, where he was a pre-med student and expressed an eagerness to practice surgery, and his time at USC would have involved giving him means to practice dissecting a body from, like, you know, things to do. I don't know what happens in medical school.
Yeah.
My knowledge of medical school is like Grey's Anatomy and House
and the
they
good
dissect
doctor.
things. Yeah.
But yeah, they're gonna have to dissect things
we're going to do something. We're going to have
people.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're never going to learn.
Yeah, if you're going to medical school, it does say he was a pre-med student, and I read that line completely wrong. I missed a whole line, so I'm going to read it again. So I'm so sorry to repeat myself, but Margolis was a pre-med student and had expressed an eagerness to practice surgery, and his time at USC medical school would have possibly given him means to have practiced dissecting a body. So I completely missed the whole pre-med student line. I'm so sorry. And his eagerness to practice surgery.
I mean, again, if you're a doctor, you generally go towards you're not just a general doctor, you generally go towards something specific, and surgery is one of those things. So if we didn't suspect him, that wouldn't sound weird, but...
No, and I feel like he is going to have a better understanding of, not necessarily, it doesn't even have to be dissecting a body, but just a better understanding of the body than me and you.
Because I don't know where anything is up there.
I don't know where anything is. Yeah, my niece and nephew got one of those like skeleton things with the organs inside it, and we all sat around as a family trying to figure out what parts of organs we were holding and where they went, because they just pulled it all apart and they're like, well, what, this is the liver, and I was like, no, that's the stomach. And there was like a whole debate at the freaking Christmas table.
That's so funny.
What organs were what and where they live, and it was quite wild, some of the assumptions. Like I genuinely thought for ages that I was looking at the liver and I'm pretty sure it was the stomach.
And that's so funny.
So yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't know. I had appendicitis and part of the reason it didn't get found out earlier is because I didn't know which side it was meant to be on.
So I'm in massive amounts of pain on my left side. Is that normal? And they're like, no.
It's only an issue if it's your right side. You're like, oh shit, no, it is my right side.
Margolis was also a member of the Navy Medical Corps and would have seen immense carnage during his time at war. And then, to be fair, it kind of just like casually went into the next sentence, but it's actually probably the biggest thing that feels like the link to this case.
Yeah.
Margolis apparently lived with Short for 12 days, 3 months prior to her death. And so he was like an ex-boyfriend. So you know when you're like, so when the police looked at all these people from USC Medical School, did they talk to Marvin Margolis?
Yeah,
and was he considered a suspect? Because he wasn't in my list of 3. So this book was kind of came up towards the end of the research, and I was like, well, this completely kind of disagrees with everything that I've just been told.
Yeah, this is like major. That's like connecting so many things. Like it's not weird for him to want to be a surgeon. It's not even weird for him to be the ex-boyfriend or have lived with her. But to be all of these things with the way she died, you're like, I think bring him in just one more time.
There is one more thing as well. And I will say that obviously this is a book. So this isn't confirmed evidence by the police. This has been brought forward by a separate investigator and an author. So take it as you will. I'm gonna include it because I feel like if there is truth to it, then it feels quite possible, if that makes sense. So there is a possible account from a policewoman who initially claimed that before the discovery of Short's body, she found Short crying at a bus station, stating an ex-boyfriend was stalking her and trying to kill her. And this ex-boyfriend, she stated, had been a Marine. So Margolis had been so you know when you're like, oh well, this...
Did nobody want to follow up on that? Did nobody take her seriously?
To be fair, I made the point earlier about did they not think about the USC Medical School, and I've once again forgotten my own research. So detectives stated at the time that Margolis had provided information that meant he wasn't responsible, but they wouldn't really relinquish what those details were, and the vague sort of notion was that he wasn't where things would have been, but it didn't really explain it very well. So it was like, oh, it can't have been Margolis because he gave us like, it didn't say alibi, but it just sort of said, well, he wasn't where it would have been, sort of thing, or something like that. So it felt very vague.
They also don't know where she was killed or where she was kept.
It didn't say, oh, he was in another state for a month leading up to her death or the week leading up to her death or whatever. It just kind of was like, he had reasons. He had things that meant he wasn't a suspect. And I was just like,
he had reasons. He's probably not that.
Yeah. But even despite this, so that this is the thing as well. So detectives stated that he gave evidence to say that he wasn't responsible. However, they never actually removed him as a suspect. So he was technically still on their list of suspects many years later. So I don't quite understand it.
Yeah, if a Marine was stalking her, okay, again, we're jumping to conclusions, it could have been someone else, but if an
Mm.
ex-boyfriend that was a Marine was stalking her and saying he wanted to kill her, it sounds like it might be him.
It feels quite likely, or it could be likely. We'll never know, because sadly, in relation to this book, so the people obviously who've written the book have gone to the police and gone, "Hey, like, do you want to like look at this guy?" Marvin Margolis is unfortunately deceased. I think he died in 1993, so they could never ask him.
Yeah.
But the
But would he
police are
admit
like,
it anyway?
yeah, would he have admitted it anyways? And I think the research I was looking into, the police were kind of like, yeah, we've got a lot of important cases to be looking at right now, and this isn't one of them, sadly, because she's been dead for
yeah,
over 70, well, nearly 70 years. So
like,
to
I
them,
get
they're
it,
kind of
but
like,
also maybe you could look into it. But I guess he's
yeah.
not a danger to anyone because he's dead. But it's still not great.
And then obviously, as quite a notorious case, there is so many people that would love to figure out who the actual killer was, but the police are kind of like, yeah, we've got lots of stuff to do. We're probably not going to look into this, which is quite sad.
It is very sad.
Marvin Margolis, in the end, he actually moved away. So he was living in California, obviously, because he went to medical school. He moved away to, I think it was Chicago, and he changed his name to Marvin Merrill, which I feel like there's a little bit suspicion about moving away and changing your name. It doesn't say how long after.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
not like
remember.
a week
Like a
after.
month later, like, bye. And then you would be like, excuse me.
Let me investigate you a bit further.
The case of Marvin Margolis as Elizabeth Short's killer is just a theory, and her death still remains unsolved. And that's it.
That's sad.
It is very sad.
But yeah, that was a great case. I knew a lot of the things, but also didn't know a lot, as always.
I obviously knew of the Black Dahlia. I knew of her being like quite an infamous case, but I didn't know how little evidence there was, if that makes sense, which I was quite surprised about. I was like, come on, there's got to be something more, like some
Yeah, I didn't
twist
know
that
there
like
was
there was
nothing.
one, yeah, like, oh, we were really following this one person, and that it was really likely it was them, and then the big twist where it's like, no, it can't have been them because of a fingerprint or a DNA or whatever, even though DNA wasn't about then, but. Yeah, it was just kind of like
it's literally nothing. It's like, it's probably not them.
And it's really like sad to say it, but it felt a little bit like anticlimactic without sounding really horrible to Elizabeth Short. I was like, I've got so little to go on here, so I'm hoping that the case, or at least the research, was interesting. The theory of Marvin Margolis was quite a weird twist. I think the book has been released, or it is in the process of being like published. But yeah, check it out if you want to. William J. Mann and Alex Faber, who believe that they've discovered the true killer of Elizabeth Short.
Well, I would love to know what the listeners think. So let us know. Do you think they have found the killer? Do you, Jess, think they found the killer?
When I first read about it, I was like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And I was like, that's gotta be it. But there's always a little bit of doubt in your mind. And as we've proven multiple times with past cases, things seem really obvious, and then something, or for whatever reason, changes why it doesn't work, and it's such a small thing, and we'd never know because we would never be able to speak to Margolis. So I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, it's definitely could have been him, and there's another part of me that's like, I genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like there are too many coincidences for it not to be him, but at the same time, like you said, is it just because these are the coincidences that we have been presented?
Yeah. And I have a feeling as well, like, this I think is one of the more recent like looks into it, and also they've used a lot of AI and stuff to help with like sort of like piecing parts of the investigation together. So I feel like there's more, what's the word I'm looking through? Not trust, but like strength in the evidence. I feel like people would go, oh, if they've used all this computer technology to help them solve it, rather than just some.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, not that.
It's a
questionable
I wouldn't thing that we will not go into.
I wouldn't agree with that statement, but it's more than just somebody being like, I've done this, and I believe it's this person, and just sort of like finger in the air guess sort of thing.
Yeah.
And from what I've understood, like I said, there's multiple books, films, conspiracy theories. So I don't think this is the first time that somebody's come forward and said, oh, I know who the killer is. And I don't think it was this person. So this is just the most recent. And I thought it was quite an interesting take, particularly if the information about him being an ex-boyfriend and what the police officer said is true.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Well, thank you for telling us all about this case.
Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for listening in.
Why don't we always get so awkward at this bit?
I don't know. We've just never, like you said, we couldn't remember at the beginning what came first, whether it was teasers or triggers and sources. And now it's like at the end where we have to kind of find a nice way for us to be like, and Anna, do you have your teasers for the next case?
Well, on that note, Jess, I do have my teasers for the next
case.
It's
not awkward at all.
It's because I feel like this is these are the bits that we're on a script for.
Yeah.
We know that they've got to come and we know we have to do it in a certain way. And we're just not yelling into a microphone like we normally are.
No. It's like, don't feel naturally about it. To be fair, there's been very little yelling this episode.
I know.
Either I've provided a boring case or it just wasn't as about it.
I mean, I think because I knew some of it, except for the gasoline, I was yelling about the gasoline. So, my teasers for next episode are, and I will let you know the connection later on in the episode, but my teasers are Crosshair, Cypher, and California. So there's a bit of a crossover in our teasers, because I believe you had California too, didn't you?
I did also have California, which, to be fair, California is a very big place.
Yeah. There are many murders in that. That is not the connection. That is not the connection, listeners. There is another connection beyond California.
I'm pretty sure I put up the photo for my teaser.
Oh, one of them how many murders in each country?
Yeah, I did
serial
use
killers.
It. So it was how many serial killers in each country, and the UK was like a couple of hundred.
190,
but the US was like 5,000, and I was like, Jesus Christ!
You put it in our chat. One sec.
Yeah, we need to check the reference now. Oh no, sorry, not 5,000. 3,615 serial killers by country, and I'm like.
And the next 3, one, it's like 3,000 and something. And then what's the next one?
Russia.
Yeah, which was...
The next one is Russia. It was like 196. Wow, US. Like, how can you have so many? Like, I know you're a big place, but technically you're not the most populated.
No. I'd love to know how many serial killers per person per the space.
Oh, okay. That's a good, like,
obviously,
sort of correlation.
Yeah.
I feel like the US would still probably win.
Yeah. I feel like it would. I would love to know how many serial killers per person per place, because obviously the UK has 100 and I think it was a 92 or 190, but obviously we're quite a small country, but we are quite densely populated. Yeah. So is that a lot? Is that not a lot? I don't know.
What is the serial killer to people ratio?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll provide that as our fact for the next episode. Oh no, now we're providing facts as well. No,
we can't.
Rabbit hole.
It's too much homework.
I feel like the US is winning, and
by a long shot.
By a long shot, and I just can't quite fathom why. What's growing in the soil? Maybe I can fathom why. But this is historically, like, what was going on in the 1980s where things, there were so many serial killers in the 80s, and, like, it was heavily in the US, and I'm like, what was in the water? What were you all smoking that was making these serial killers be like, woo!
Let's kill
everybody. But yeah, so... If you haven't seen that post, though, with the facts about the US, then you can find it on all of our socials.
Which now include TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Damn.
Where you can find us as Crime Time with My Bestie.
Do you know what? I realised earlier in the episode, but I didn't want to say it, because you were like, we're on all the big platforms. We are on YouTube, because it's where we release our episodes, but they have shorts now, and...
Give me one thing at a time.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of YouTube Shorts.
I could work out how to do it if it's automated at some point. But right now, we are taking the win as it is. We are on Facebook, and you can find us there, TikTok and Instagram, as Crime Time with My Bestie. And that segues quite nicely on however you're listening. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
we're not on our YouTube shorts, but our episodes are, we try our best, but as you mentioned earlier in the episode, we do this part-time. And if you don't want us to do this part-time and you want us to spend all of our conscious hours talking about true crime and thinking about murders, then you can give us loads of love by like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, and do all the things all across any of the platforms that we have just described, and we'll love you forever for it.
And then we can employ an editor, which is our main dream.
Yeah. The dream of someone editing these episodes. Like, I have fun recording them, and then there's the realization that I then got to spend at least a minimum of 3 hours plus.
Way more.
Yeah. I said minimum.
I told you my MacBooks from uni days. It's... I am many hours in.
Well, thank you so much, Bestie, for joining me for our 20th episode. Congratulations once again.
Woo! We need, like, fanfare or something. Woo!
I am thinking about purchasing one of those TikTok mics, which has the little, like, tablet thing that comes with it, just to test it out. Because it's like 20 quid, and I don't know if it will sound disgusting, but it comes with, like, fanfare, echo,
Excellent.
And things like that. And I feel like either it will be the best thing ever or the worst thing, because we're both quite compulsive people, and I feel like we'll just be, like, pressing, like, horn noises, like, do, like, here's some echoes, like, echo! And it will be disgusting or the best thing in the world. I can't make my mind up yet.
We might have to put it away for the episode when we're actually doing the case and then only bring it back at the end.
Yeah, it's only for this period where we're just talking absolute shit.
But we should probably let the listeners go.
Yeah, we should. Thank you so much for joining us, listeners. Thank you so much for joining me, Bestie.
Thank you so much for the case, Bestie. And bye, Bestie.
Bye, Bestie.
Bye.
Bye. Be loopers.
Maybe.
Maybe. I feel like a blooper is always going to be us debating about whether we managed to sync up bye.
Yeah.
Was that or cheerleading? Like B to the L to the O, O, O.
Oh my god, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that next episode.
So my... Yeah, suck it. But also we love you and please stay.
Now that's a blooper.
What's going on with this laptop? I can't end the recording and start again and refresh the page, dickhead. Yeah. And then it said... Wait, what's my reason to say? Various rivers throughout Los Angeles. My laptop is so laggy right now. It looks like it wants to fucking shitting die. So, and ever since I opened Google Maps, it's like, nah, I don't want to live.